Welcome to Speakeasily versus the 80s. We're the nostalgic trash cast that digs up what we watched obsessively on cable as a kid, because we think it's socially relevant and culturally important. Or at least, it's what made us all into the maladjusted freakazoids we are today. And we think that's important too. Think about that the next time you get caught slow dancing with a blow-up doll. I'm Odessa Lil, beaming at you from an undisclosed location in the Central Galaxy. With me, as always, are my comedy life partners and secret space heshers, Klingon Vanna White and Shecky Davis Jr.
So, I'm sorry, but unfortunately, Klingon is not going to be with us today. I'm sorry. It's kind of my fault.
What happened?
So I went for a visit because I kind of was missing her. So I went for a visit, me and Mako. I went to her bathroom and I basically blew it up. So I went in there, I sat down, and I just unleashed holy hell. I released.
I thought you meant you literally blew up her bathroom.
No, I did. I released a swarm of Cosbys that would make Egypt, jealous. Like it was a plague.
What?
It was a plague of Cosbys just descended upon her toilet and her walls and the mirror. And I don't know what happened. I thought that Chipotle bowl looked good. It burned through her masks. She might have COVID.
Okay.
I don't know. It was scary. So she had to basically tint the bathroom, then tint her house, and I think they're fumigating it. So
wow.
So I'm on the run from her because I think she's pissed at me for doing that to her house. But you know what? I think brown is a nice shade for the interior of a house.
I just hope to disagree.
I'm sorry, Vanna. Like if you're listening to this in the hospital, just know that I'm sorry.
This is getting dark.
But not as dark as this movie. So
that's true. It's like, since you know what this is a very special episode of Speakeasily versus the 80s.
That's making it very this episode is our yearly PSA. So just please, grab your child, sit down, and listen to this very special episode of the Speakeasily versus the 80s podcast. Thank you.
We also deal with the aforementioned plague of Cosbys. That's in the new Haggadah for Passover, a plague of Cosbys.
A plague of Cosbys? Yeah. I could see it. Like, didn't your people have to run an extra 40 days to escape the Cosby plague?
Yes, after we carb loaded, which was really difficult.
Yes.
With all that pasta.
Yes, you carb loaded, and you couldn't even light candles because you would have blown yourselves up. So,
I'm going to change the subject.
Please.
That's a transition. When people review us on iTunes, we're so excited that we actually read the review on the air. And you too can write a review and we'll read it, no matter how shitty it is. That's a challenge.
We have a challenge for our listeners. If you could sit in the bathroom and listen to a complete episode of any of our shows, and you do it in the comfort of your bathroom, send us a picture with you sitting on the toilet listening to the show, and put hey, I'm listening to this episode, and we'll give you a shout out. You might win a special prize. So at the end,
a special prize.
Yeah, at the end, Odessa will let you know how you can send us your pictures of you on the toilet listening to our show.
You know what? Just send them directly to Shecky's cell phone. That's because he'll sort those out.
No, because then we can post them. We can post them on our Discord. We can post them. It'll be awesome.
Well, we would post it on Facebook. We do have a special people's group, Speakeasily Hour Minute Podcast. Look for us on Facebook, join our special people's group. But about iTunes, when you leave a review or give us a star or whatever, that helps us help you help us, because people can find our podcast, and we just want to help people help us. Ultimately. Okay, I'm going to read this review. It's pretty cool. This is a 5-star review. Okay.
Yes.
So and the
they
title,
obviously didn't listen to the whole thing.
Yeah, they're like, I like the intro music. They live for the 80s. Follow Odessa and Shecky and Klingon Vanna White, the hottest necrophiliacs cruising the information superhighway, as they hunt down the zombie that is 80s trash cinema. Like a Nagel print hanging upside down over your last can of OK Cola, This podcast will have you reconsidering your angle on bad taste. Incredibly entertaining and NSFW banter, and conversations with amazing guests sharing insights and breakdowns of all manner of 80s cinematic garbage. You like your innuendo peppered with salt? You came you came to the right place. Subscribe or perish. Now that's a good review.
Yeah. And I don't know how they know about our necrophilic tendencies. Like, is this someone that's in our inner circle? Because I only told that to my mom, so...
Thank you, Mrs. Davis Jr., for giving us that nice review.
Thanks, Mom.
Okay, yes, leave us a review. We'll read it on the air. All right, so we have a very special guest today. I'm beyond stoked to introduce our special guest. Her band, the Death Valley Girls, occupies the space where mysticism meets rock and roll, where cult band meets cult religion. Their live shows are rituals, and their albums are grimoires. And here she is, the lead singer, guitarist, keyboardist of it all, Bonnie Bloomgarden.
Welcome.
Thanks for letting me come here to this special spot in my room to talk to you guys.
Yes.
Welcome to your room. I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I like coming to this spot. I never come here unless someone gives me an invitation. Otherwise, this spot is humanless.
Like, you can't go into your room unless someone invites you in. Are you a vampire?
Yeah, exactly.
Whoa.
Exactly. I was hoping we wouldn't talk about that until a little later into the podcast.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Necrophiliacs, vampires. We're off to a really good start. Yeah, this is good. How have you been? You're in LA, right?
I am there. I'm okay. I'm probably the same as everybody else, except if someone's doing worse or way better.
Yeah.
Could always be better. Yeah.
Yeah, but this has been, I think, for me, I've never spent this long with my dog, and for that I am so grateful.
Quality time.
Yeah, since I've had the dog, I think 7 years, and we've toured for 7 years, so I've never had this many consecutive days together, and I never really noticed how nuts she was, and so for that I'm very grateful. I'm sorry, but that's I can't go into more detail.
That's all right. We love Tommy too.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've spent so much time with my cat, and I was worried, like, oh, when I go back to work eventually, is she going to go through some kind of like anxiety? But I think it's actually, I'm going to be going through the separation anxiety of not being around my cat all the time.
Yeah, it's weird. It's definitely, I've noticed, like, the pet, the pet is an extension of my hand. Like, I just, like, I reach out to self-soothe. I don't know that I have those skills without the pet, the dog. If and I don't, like, if something's not excited to see me, maybe probably like 400 times a day she's excited, I don't know what I will do. So yeah, it's a strange, like, I guess I'm stranger than I knew. Which I'm learning more and more every day. Yeah, I have an emotional support animal.
Yeah.
I didn't know that before, but it truly is.
I don't think you're the only one. I think the world's going to change. I think we're going to go everywhere with our pets from now on.
Well, totally. I just wish I had like a spookier, cooler looking pet. Like, if like, like 10-year-old me knew I had like a little tiny poodle, white poodle lapdog, I think I would have punched myself in the face, like,
Oh, well, at least you can't eat your emotional pet. Mine is a pizza, and I keep eating it. It's horrible. I gotta get another one. People are looking at me crazy because I name them as I leave the building.
Wow.
I say, hi, little Charlie, and then I start eating them.
Oh, emotional support pizzas are very problematic.
Very personal too. Very, very personal.
Especially when
when
it's a personal pizza.
personal pan pizza.
Oh,
Hey-o.
wow. That's so great. Well, I'm glad we all have something that is helping us through, you know, emotional support.
Yeah,
Pizzas,
pets,
cats,
pizzas.
dogs.
So it sounds like you two were a teen goth of some sort.
Yes, I was. Yeah, it was very important to me to be like for everyone to know exactly what music I was into by the way I dressed,
Yes.
and that changed a lot. I was very extreme with my phases, but the one theme that went through it all was definitely like I really wanted to seem tough. Are you allowed to say bad words?
Fuck yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to seem tough as fuck since I was like 5. I didn't want people to know if I was like a boy or a girl, which I think now doesn't matter as much to me. But then I was just like, even though I've always been super short with a real high voice, I wanted people to be like afraid I might like crack them, give them a
Yeah.
knuckle sandwich or something. But yeah, and I don't really know where that came from, but yeah, watching this movie, I did learn a lot. I was like, which I don't know. I didn't know that about myself before, but yeah, like as a kid, I would have wanted like a gigantic dark dog with like the biggest fangs in the world and like, you know,
Oh, sure.
something
No-
scary. But yeah, the fact that I have like a animated stuffed animal, that just looks so like the word cute, is it's all I'm ashamed a little,
No.
just
Little
the right.
white doggies are punk as fuck.
Well, what's funny about that I realized is just thinking about movies is the little white doggy from Silence of the Lambs and Batman Returns
Yeah, yeah.
and all of those movies. That doggy is punk as fuck. Like that,
Oh, sure.
like really that movie. I can't remember what that dog's name was, but that dog was really a star. But I didn't like that kind of dog until Larry's sister Patty. She had a white little doggy,
Aw.
fluff ball, and I dog sat it a few times, and I was like, yeah, this one's for me. I want one. I want one of these. Yeah, it's a good sidekick, and it has very few opinions. So yeah, it's
So you
down for whatever.
Yeah, I grew up solely with little white doggies because that
Oh,
was
really?
like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. There was
She did.
yeah. Shecky was there. We grew up. We went to high school together. We were
Oh,
goth
cool.
together. It was ridiculous. But the little white doggy always occupies a very special place in my mind. So when I saw that you're Tommy, I was like, oh, she's in on the little white doggy tip. All right.
Yeah. Well, that's so exciting. You guys went to high school together.
Yep.
Yes.
Cool. And were you all goth?
She was more goth than I was goth by association.
Okay.
It-
Goth by association. That rules.
Yeah.
we watched a lot of 120 minutes together.
Loved it.
Shecky very very knowledgeable about the music.
Cool.
And actually, the first time I saw Shecky, he's walking across campus in high school campus wearing a PIL shirt, and I thought to myself,
Ooh.
I want to talk to the one black kid wearing a PIL shirt. That's my new best friend,
That's awesome.
and,
Yeah.
and that's what happened.
That's so cool. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's the
Yeah.
same reason I wore what I wore is because everyone when I was in school was like basically just listen to the radio or like hip hop or something that just didn't really visually stand out like style wise. And I really wanted to set myself apart and be friends with the real weirdos. So I dressed as
Yeah.
weird as possible. It's easy to find each other that way.
It's so
Also,
true.
yeah, I really liked weed, to be honest. Like, and the easiest way to find it is to dress weird.
You and me both, sister.
Cool.
People offer you drugs when you look like a freak. It's so fun.
Yeah, it's so true. Just having toured so much, like, whoever's the weirdest looking person in the band always gets offered all the drugs.
Yeah.
And it's usually not me though. I have
Oh,
to
wow.
seek out the post-show joint, which I wonder if that's a thing of the past now, you know?
Well, there's
Like
no shows.
right. Well, that yeah, it literally is a thing of the past now, but will there ever be like a post-show joint sharing session? Oh, so hard to say. Post-show joint sharing session. Can you
How much
say
wood
that?
would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? That's the only tongue twister I can say. So,
You're
post
really good at that.
show I've practiced. Um, instead of post-show joints, we just have all day long joints right now.
Cool. Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
so, theoretically. But,
Theoretically.
you bring up live shows and you guys are such amazing performers, and I think about all the amazing shows I've seen you at, like, in the desert, in San Francisco, in LA, like, all over the place. What is Death Valley Girls doing now that we're all in lockdown?
I mean, I think I'm one of the luckiest people that we finished recording our new record like a couple days before lockdown started.
Wow.
So that was like almost a year ago now, but we knew that our record was going to come out in October, which is so cool because like as the world fell apart and we realized how horrible our country was, like
Yeah.
we had we knew the most important thing in the world to us was going to happen in October. Um and and it was the first time we had the opportunity to actually do a lot of the work around like an album coming out cuz usually we're just on tour the whole time and like every other month, so there's no like life isn't that real when you're doing that.
Yeah.
um but this time it was like really cool to get to like reach out to all the college radio stations and like get to do every single like interview or like so many kids would just write us on Instagram and ask to do an interview and I was like sure, why not, got so it's just like I filled my time with talking to kids. And yeah, and we got to like make videos and just I mean honestly, obviously the music industry just like everything else only really works for like the top tier,
Yeah.
and all the money just goes up to them. So I think this year has been good to just kind of be like, hey, that wasn't working, like we need to find another way, like we can't only make money 6 months out of the year when we tour. We work every day. We need to figure out a way to make money every day, because it is our job as much as it's fun to think of being in a band as not a job or like or we just do it for the art. It's like, no, it's our job. Do you remember how we met or when we met?
I I think I do. My friend Patrick Martin of Fresno, California. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, he knew about you guys and took me to one of your shows,
that's so cool.
and
He's
we
so
met
nice.
outside. Yeah, he is fun. He's another high school friend of ours.
Oh, no way, cool.
And in fact, when I saw the movie we're about to talk about, Pat might have been there.
Oh, wow.
So crazy connection.
Full
Um,
circle.
but he was so right. I mean, he's got great taste in music, and he was like, "You're gonna love this band," and he was right. He was right. You
Yay,
guys were
thank
so
you.
amazing. The album that you released during the pandemic, luckily enough for all of the world, is called Under the Spell of Joy, and it's this very positive, or it's about positive thinking in a way, right?
It is. That's so weird, but it is.
Yeah.
It it is. I was not aware of, positive thinking or, like, that type of philosophy or any of those people that are, um, notable in that world until pretty recently, and it blew my mind. I was like which I think we'll talk about, I guess, with this movie is, I exclusively consumed, true crime and,
Yes.
like 100% only listened to on tour, we would listen to true crime podcasts for like 8 hours a day, literally, and then go back to the motel and watch Forensic Files, like, um
God.
yeah, that's all we were that's I don't know why, but it took like my whole life I was obsessed with serial killers
Yeah.
um and just anything dark and then at some point we just realized like what the fuck? We have been listening to 911 calls like
Oh,
all day for weeks. And, it's like it's just not that creative. It's good entertainment, but it wasn't helping us. So,
oh no, it's very complex. Like
yeah.
I hear you. I like the true crime too, and I like My Favorite Murder, and I like all that stuff too. But you kind of need like an anecdote to it just
Yeah,
to
well,
balance
yeah,
it
I
out.
think yeah, it's just I think it stemmed from really being interested in like psychology and or just human nature, and it's really easy to start with monsters and the deviant side uh of people's nature. But then yeah, at some point we were just like, what if we studied like the opposite? Like what if we spent all our time listening to like great thinkers and um and learn what meditation is and all, it kind of happened like that. And then yeah, and so this record was just came about of like basically just if you had spent your whole life or if you had just found out that you were in charge of your brain, and that's basically what the record is about. It's like you can do anything. I didn't even know that before 2 years ago, honestly. I was like truly had no idea that we held power over what we think.
Mm.
Um
Hmm.
and so I was like, "Oh, we need to write about that, and we need to write like magic spells cuz yeah, we can't go around this world singing about stupid stuff anymore. It doesn't it's like I whatever is I think we have the ability to maybe do something like way more powerful and cool. And like yeah, we learned about chanting and intention and lots of stuff like that. And we were like, let's be intentional and do, make spells or whatever.
Who's
um,
been most influential for you as far as like if you're listening or reading about positive thinking and
oh,
magic?
well, Mitch Horowitz.
All
Which,
right, Mitch
yeah, which we've
Horowitz.
talked about. Yeah,
Yeah, you and I have bonded over the Horowitz.
yeah, he's the person we heard were listening to the Duncan Trussell Family Hour, and we
Mm.
heard Mitch Horowitz on it, and he's the reason we canceled true crime. We were just like, "No." And so we just started listening to his books on and he does all of the audiobooks for himself and all the like Manly Hall and all those other people.
Yeah, on
And
Audible, sure.
yeah, and he's just so prolific as an he's a publisher, author, thinker, seeker, and he does all of those books on tape. Is that what it's called? Like is
Still, I
that's
think
n-
we still say that some for some reason. Yeah.
okay, yeah. Well, that's what I still think of it as. Yeah, and we were just like, man, this guy like him reading these books probably is creating energy and power. Like
Mm.
and so yeah, Mitch Horowitz is our leader now.
Excellent.
Um,
I love his brand of punk self-help.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I'm not embarrassed to say that I'm into the punk self-help, It's
yeah. No, totally. I mean, I definitely used to think that that's like it's weird. I used to think like the self help section, like don't get caught there.
Yep.
But then I realized that's right next to the occult and cool stuff section, and like you know what I mean, and like afterlife and like reincarnation and occult, like all of the fun stuff is right next to there. So maybe it's time to not be ashamed of it, you
Oh,
know?
yeah. The big secret is that it's all the same thing. It
Yeah.
all ends in the same place.
Yeah. That is the big secret.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah. I forgot that we have that in common. Eh, Mitch Horowitz. But yeah, that's the because I think like I always thought about this, but when I was young, like, I was super into the Stones, the Rolling Stones,
Yeah.
and to get to know them, like, I read books or, like, borrowed other people's, like, videos and, and there was an accessible, or there was an appropriate amount of information that you could find out, and maybe some magazines. But now, if you wanted to get into the stones, like with the advent of the internet, like
Mhm.
I don't even know where you would start, like I don't even, or where you would end. It's just there's too much information. And I think that's why I like Mitch Horowitz is like, I think it would be too hard to be like, all right, I'm ready for self help. I'm ready for positive thinking. Like, what do I read now? But I just kind of follow his career, and
Yeah.
that's enough for me. So
Yeah, I
he's,
trust him as a scholar of uh, new thought and positive thinking. Like he's done all the research in a way
yeah,
and then synthesized it.
yeah, and now you don't have to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. But he also seems like he works every day. That's something that I like to see too, because it makes me want to work every day. Which
Absolutely. And speaking of, don't you guys have a Patreon now?
we do have a Patreon. And I think it's pretty funny. But yeah, yeah, we have a Patreon, and we're about to start a podcast, or it's about to come out. You're gonna be
Cool.
on it. But yeah,
Yay!
yeah, the Patreon's just basically for not that much money, you can get so much more fun in your life. And you know, um, and if you need like 4 new friends, you can have them. Access us all day long, every single day for a mere $5 a month. Um,
For
you
10,
know,
you can stand in Bonnie's living room.
yeah, yeah, you can sit in my sitting spot. Um, I think people don't realize, or maybe they do, but right now, all I'm doing is like the shitty part of our job. Like we don't get it, or not shitty, but it's like I don't get to do the fun part of the job that gives me hope and life. So it'd be rad if people could pay us until we get to do the fun part. And also, it's like now we have to pay to play, which is hilarious. It's finally gotten to that point where we have to
Hmm.
like, these shows, these virtual shows, you have to pay for everything and then kind of get reimbursed. And it's a silly system. So, like you said, help us help you help us, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I'd like. I'd like a
It's
little
yeah.
help helping us help you. Um,
It's the new artist's call to arms. Help us,
yeah,
help you, help us.
well, it's essential because like this isn't Europe where they pay people to be artists so that culture like thrives. Silly idea they have over
Right?
there. But I think it's not that big of a deal to give $5 or $10 to your friends to make you giggle a couple times a month.
Yeah. We can be cynical and call it content, or we can be positive and magical and call it joy.
Oh my god, that's great. Yeah. There's some, or what if you mix it together? Joy content.
Ooh.
What what
Yes.
what have you then?
Fun.
Fun.
Shit tons of
Exactly.
fun.
Shit
Yeah.
tons of fun. Yeah. Oh,
Since we're talking about fun, let's get
yes.
into murder.
Yay.
The controversial and stylized movie about teen murder, disaffected stoners, and the dark morality of peer pressure is it all comes together in 1986's River's Edge, which you chose. Is this your favorite movie, Bonnie?
Yeah. I mean, I have like 5 favorite movies, and this one is one of them for sure. Um I'm in love with everyone in that movie. I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I feel a little differently now after watching it last night. Um,
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah, just ever so slightly, but I'm not mad at myself for the way I used to feel about it. Um, but yeah, I love it so much. I love the tone. And I love the pace. Yeah, to me, I when I saw it, like teenagers were the coolest thing in the world, and this movie definitely shows teenagers as the coolest things in the world. Like just something you'd strive to be. Like one day, I too will be a teenager. Yeah, and Dennis Hopper's in it. Like That's pretty cool.
God,
was-
he's amazing.
I was just weirded out though because, like, I never knew that lower, what is it, middle to lower class white kids in the Pacific Northwest had it so bad in the 80s. I was very surprised by that.
You know, I don't think it's a Pacific Northwest. It's
I thought it was.
based
Is
on.
it?
No, I think it's Northern California because it's based on,
Oh, yeah,
on an
sorry.
actual
You're right.
murder.
You're right,
Yeah.
Northern California. So these people would be probably in like Eureka, Ukiah. I have family that lives.
Sacramento.
Well, I have family. I have family that lives up there, and there's a lot of meth heads up there. So,
Oh shit, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, exploding bathrooms aren't just a joke up there.
I didn't realize that it's based on an actual murder.
yeah. It's based on an actual murder.
That
It's-
sucks.
Yeah,
Right?
So,
Yeah, the victim's name was Marcy Renee Conrad. She was murdered in 1981. And it's basically the same thing. Like, you know, the 16-year-old kills her and then brings all his friends to come look at the body. Like 10 to 12 friends went and saw this body. And until someone said something, it took a couple of days before someone said something. So
Yeah.
the screenwriter of this movie, Neil Jimenez, he read about that case while he was in film school, and then he based this screenplay on that case.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
I mean it's
so-
definitely fictionalized, but
yeah,
Yeah. Well,
With
that's so cool.
yeah. It was really, and it's what's really weird is I had no idea that Speed was a sequel to this movie. Can you believe that?
little
Yeah.
known fact.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Keanu Reeves character has to stop the Dennis Hopper character who has broken out of jail.
Oh my god. I
yeah.
forgot that they're both in both. That's so funny. What
Crazy.
are the odds? I wonder what their relationship was like. How
On the
old?
set.
Yeah, or just like, hey man, it's been, 15 years or whatever. And, or were they friends? Like,
Probably not.
yeah, it's hard to imagine Dennis Hopper took Keanu Reeves seriously.
Let's talk about these performances. It's funny. Odessa was saying that she always thought this was a comedy when she was younger.
Yeah, well, I'm interested to know, and I don't know anything about it, but like I saw it very young, like not a teenager. So again, so teenagers are the coolest thing in the world. But like Crispin Glover, what's like I just took that totally literal, but I wonder how the director decided like, yeah, that's perfect. Like everything he says
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
so bizarrely such a bizarre character. Like he's acting.
Yeah.
Weird.
Weird performance, weird choices.
Yeah, so every choice is so strange. Yeah, who is the director, and do they always do that? Do they always
But-
have
But the weird thing about it though is he totally, like, that character totally lives today in Texas. Like, I totally believe that character would have voted for Trump, would have definitely done everything that character would have done. So like
Lane?
Yeah, I totally think Lane would have been a full-on Trump supporter. Seriously. From like a deep South Trump supporter.
Wow,
That's-
I don't get that, but
Really? Are you serious? Popping the pills, freaking out, like talking about being super loyal, and no, I just totally think that he would be that character, or it could be completely off.
interesting though, because part of my personality that is like that I have to a fault is my loyalty. Just a ridiculous amount of loyalty, even to people that don't even know I'm being loyal to them. And I when I watched that movie last night, I was like, holy shit, did this impact my that part of my personality? Because I got it. Like when he says like, oh, she's dead, but he's alive. Like we have to protect him. Like when I was a kid, that made so much sense to me.
Yeah. It's a
but
kind of
now
pragmatism.
Yeah,
like-
but now I'm like, what the fuck was wrong with me? Why did I idolize this man who's obviously the weirdest, like one of the weirdest characters ever?
The reason why Odessa idolized him was because like she just loved him. She was just like, like I'm
Okay.
surprised she was able to get through this movie again, because like she has a huge Crispin Glover fantasy. I was like, I'm surprised she actually made it through, without flooding the basement.
I'm still masturbating, Shecky, to this day.
But the funny thing about it was, I thought the movie you picked was A River Runs Through It, but then I realized that's just what happened to Odessa's panties. So I was like, okay,
These are the jokes, people.
these are the jokes, people. Because Brad Pitt is in A River Runs Through It, so I was like, okay, maybe that's her new type. But I thought, nah,
fuck Brad Pitt. It's all about Crispin Glover.
There you go.
He is super hot, even though he's wearing like one of the grossest wigs that was ever to be constructed.
The leather jacket, everything he's wearing just seems so like out of everyone's costuming choices, like everyone else totally get it. Like it makes me feel like this was a precursor to the whole grunge movement as well, because if you see what they're wearing and everything, but like Crispin Glover, everything that he's wearing is just so like left field to everyone else in the movie. Have you noticed that? It's just really like.
Are you talking about his parachute pants?
No, it's seriously everything that he's wearing, like the leather jacket, the hoodie, the fingerless gloves, or the cap. It's just, I don't know, man. It's just I don't know, like
he's a character. He's a character.
Yes.
It's so weird to look back at something like that. I just believed it to be real, when you're like, if you're like under 10, everything you see is real. Like it's not, unless it has like pirates and fairies, it's just like and I think I wasn't allowed to see it, so that made it even more real. But yeah, like his car, everything, I mean, he was like the dream. Personally, and
awesome.
Yeah, I just thought he's the coolest person, coolest outfit, coolest car, ever. But now I'm kind of like, wait a second, that's not him in real life. He's acting. That's a character. But
that was him though in real life.
Well, yeah,
they were his choices.
I have a friend that went out with him recently, and it sort of seems like that may be more true to his personality than you'd be. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, which is a little, I guess it's not shocking, but a little disappointing. His grasp of reality is like doesn't exist. He's a for real freak, like 100% like not based in reality. I was super jealous at first when I found out that she was going out with him, but then I was like not surprised to hear that it was sort of hell.
To be a fly on the wall and hear like those conversations, he's probably just like, this is the last time I swipe right.
Yeah. And then Ione Skye, I was in love with her. The way her mouth, how it comes from below. Did you notice that? Like she kind of talks like her lower jaw meets her face. Like it comes up to her face instead of like, you know what I mean? Like kind of sideways.
I didn't notice that.
It's so good. I love it. It's amazing. But yeah, their style, I guess it is way more what you think of typically like 90s than 80s. Totally. Except the little kid, the sister, who's like a little hippie, her like suede vest with the fringe.
Aww.
Yeah, that's so
that was
sweet.
Cute.
Yeah.
That poor thing. Yeah. So the director, Tim Hunter, he went on to direct a bunch of episodes of Twin Peaks.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Makes sense, right?
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's cool.
Yeah, the style of this absolutely does anticipate the 90s in many, many ways.
And also like the pacing, because it didn't occur to me how little happens in that movie. It's like, what is it, like 2 or 3 days or like a week of.
Yeah, I think you're right, just a couple of days.
Yeah, barely anything happens at all. And all that happens mainly is introduced in the beginning.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're not ruining this for anyone that's like, oh man, I want to watch it, but now I know what happens. It's like, don't worry, they tell you right in the beginning, and then nothing else happens. Yeah.
But the weird thing about it was the ending. Like, is it just me, or did it take a what is it, of Mice and Men kind of at the end.
Yeah. That's so funny. Yes, totally.
So I was
Wow. Yeah.
so I was
That
like, oh, okay. So because like again, my mind didn't like when I was younger and I saw this with Odessa because she was like kept pausing. Like I originally when I first saw this movie, I thought it was like a 4-hour movie because she kept having to pause it to excuse herself whenever Kristen Glover was on the
All
screen.
right. Okay.
And then she'd come back and she'd start it up again, and so it looked like it took forever. But anyway, like my young mind didn't grasp the connections between certain like literary classics like of Mice and Men at the end until I kind of like I didn't do like a deep dive about it, but like I refreshed my memory. It's different. You're right. It's different when you watch something as a younger kid or as a teenager, and then you watch it as an adult. Your perception really changes about what's going on. Because when I read the reviews, people were saying like, "Oh, this is like a modern day horror movie," and this and that. I didn't really understand why they were saying that until you realize, oh, it's because parents at the time had never seen anything like this, and they were like, "Oh
right,
my god, that could be my child."
right.
Plus it was based on something that truly really happened, and so people were like, "Oh shit, Timmy's fucking despondent. What the fuck? I don't know what to do."
Yeah. I mean,
You know,
I think that all throughout history, teenagers have been shitty. And it's just how we portray them that changes.
wow, thanks.
No, it's true. I mean,
I
I
was
think
a I was
there's
a
been
great teen. What are you talking about? As I smoked a lot of pot and skipped class, I was a
and
great kid.
remember you drove your car with your feet? I will never
Hey,
forget that.
thank God my mom doesn't listen to this podcast.
I'm gonna send this to her.
Thanks.
But I mean, it's about kind of this distance, disaffected youth, and it's done in this style that's also distanced and disaffected. Like
Yeah,
the opening image is like a staticky black and white view of the river, and then it goes into reality of the river. And like I feel like that tone just sets it right away. Where we're kind of like everything's very distanced, and so the acting choices are also done to do that, to set up a kind of a distance to make you think about what's happening, kind of cartoonish. And so like when we were teenagers and we saw this and laughed at it, I mean I saw it with a bunch of cynical goth kids that were just laughing at it because it was we caught all the laugh lines. They were funny. But then you see it later and you're like, oh shit, this is about murder and rape and ultimately about kids just like afraid to not be cool. Like they're afraid to do the wrong thing.
yeah,
They're all looking at each other for cues as to what to do.
yeah,
I don't think teenagers have really ever been that different than that throughout
No,
history.
because remember there was a whole bunch of like counterculture. Like we got it with kids. We got it in
Yes, yes.
what were those other movies?
This movie led to kids.
Yeah, this movie led to kids,
Yeah.
but then there was a whole like boom in the 90s where there was like, what is it, Generation Zero or something like that, or there was this there was a whole bunch of movies that came out, and it was like literally along the same lines as this movie.
Yeah.
In the 90s where it was all about kids taking molly or something, and then or smoking pot, and then going out and having like really like kind of altered perceptions, and then doing weird shit. So I think it just kind of every generation has those movies that kind of explores what teen angst, I guess, is like for that generation. And like Where the Day Takes You was another one that came out in the 90s about homeless kids in LA. So you're always going to find these movies in every generation. There's always some movie that's going to talk about like what it's like to be a teenager and being disaffected. I just think that's just and the weird thing about it kind of makes it seem like this is just a normal part of teenage progression. And I think that's what's kind of scary about it. It's just like I think a lot of teens like just go through this. Not all of them push the boundaries of actually committing murder. I mean, even we, as teens, were somewhat affected by that. I think that's the one movie reason why it makes it a horror movie is because parents were just like, "What the hell is Johnny doing?" So,
yeah.
and
Totally. I think that that is true, and I think obviously, like with satanic panic and everything, it's like
Yeah.
everyone wants to wants to blame teenagers and treat them like they're not humans, and that they can't make decisions.
Yeah.
And there's no reason. Like I was just thinking about this recently. Is like teenagers aren't treated as people. Like
No.
your parents like get divorced, make decision where you're gonna live, all this stuff. Don't ask you anything. They're not acting responsible, and it's like parents aren't any different than teenagers. They're just people. Like,
Hmm.
which is just weird to think about. Like, but when you're young, you don't realize that. You're just like, oh, they know everything, I guess. Like, they make all the rules, or they don't know shit, but they still get to make all the rules. And there's always that feeling of like trying to find your identity, particularly in like counterculture and like just and wherever you live. I think most people have the experience of like wanting to just get the fuck out. Like the most important thing in the world is to turn 18 and move away.
Yep.
And like for whatever reason, and it just seems, yeah, it's like if you're younger than a teenager, you're looking at like in this movie or whatever where they're like smoking weed inside in front of their mom. Are you kidding? That's crazy. Like they don't care, like
Well, because
kids
the
leave.
mom's a stoner too.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that. I'm sure there's a lot of movies about that now, but I think a big thing that I noticed about the 80s, obviously, is a lot of those people's parents were like hippies. Um,
Yeah.
and so it's like the first time where people's parents were not like, before that, people's parents are like grew up in the 50s and they were uptight. Like, no offense, ma, no offense, dad, but my parents are super strict, like completely believed in the 50s.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
it was easy to rebel against that. But I think, in the 70s, like I was just thinking like Rock and Roll High School or something, like those people are rebelling against their 50s parents.
Yeah.
And then so in the 80s, it's kind of like maybe that's why it's darker and keeps on getting darker, is that like when you're rebelling against hippies, like then you're going to start to see murder because there's not that much farther you can rebel.
When we were younger, we had a friend whose mom allowed us to smoke pot in the house because she'd rather us do it there than be
Yeah.
out in the streets. So yeah, like that totally was like our reality in some points. And then the thing that was really even crazier when you're talking about parents not choosing everything, or older people choosing, that's literally what happened at the end of the movie. Is Dennis Hopper made a choice
Right.
for this
Totally.
young man, letting him not even letting him experience any kind of closure for this action that he did. So even at the end, it was a parent that kind of, or an adult that made the decision for this teenager. And
Oh, interesting.
so because you can look at it both ways. It was like the kid was being aimless and he didn't know what decision to make. And so maybe that's why Dennis Hopper's character said, I see your trajectory because that's who I'm going to be, what I'm going to be. So I'm gonna stop you from that, and I'm going to kill you. So it's almost like Dennis Hopper is killing his former self as to make amends for what he did when he was younger, and then he
Mm.
turns himself in.
I think that
Wow.
Dennis Hopper's Feck, the character Feck,
Yeah, fat. I
he
couldn't I couldn't
he's
think his name.
he sees John or Samson. He sees him as broken because he's like, I didn't kill my girlfriend just for the fun of it. I killed her because I loved her. This kid is just killing. He just killed like just for fun to see what it was like. And so he sees that as that character is broken. There's something wrong with him.
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
didn't
It
I didn't
makes
get that portion of it.
makes you question why Feck killed his girlfriend in the first place. Like maybe he knew that she was broken too.
Yeah, that's interesting because I remember him having explained it when I thought of the movie before rewatching it. So I was kind of shocked that they don't know, like, or that they don't disclose that information.
Yeah.
It's because there's so little information that the least they could have done is given that.
More
But
backstory on him.
yeah, just something. But yeah, I thank you for introducing the mice and men thing. That really makes a lot of sense, and that adults making decisions for kids. And I think, yeah, that's probably why it was scary too, is that I think people just don't trust teenagers.
No, they
And
don't.
I don't think teenagers are totally trustworthy, but I think
No.
they're gonna do what they're gonna do no matter what. So treating them like they're convicts, I don't think helps anybody,
No.
because yeah, that's what messed me up was all the rules, man.
Yeah.
I would have been fine if there were no rules. I probably would be like governor or something now.
But doling out the rules.
Yeah, yeah. I should be in
Death
charge
Valley
of the
president.
rules. Yeah.
I'll vote.
So
I'll vote.
I have a question. So do you have like are your groupies called Death Valley Boys or like
uh, I think yeah, if they want to, I think
that's awesome.
yeah. We have more. There are a few like Instagram accounts for Death Valley such and such name, like
Uh,
Death Valley Jenny or whatever. I don't want to call anybody out,
Yeah, but there you
but
go. That's awesome.
yeah, and we do have a boy in the band, and he did name the band. So,
oh,
but he's paid the price for that.
He's an honorary girl.
Yeah, he
wow.
is.
That's a lot to say about Larry.
Yeah, he's an honorary girl.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure he's proud of that. Um,
yeah,
so just to go over real quick the trajectory of the movie, it opens with this little boy, Tim. There's a little boy that looks like he's like seen some shit. He's got like a crazy earring and like fucked up hair, but he's about 12 and he throws a doll into a river. And then the camera like shows on the other side of the river is John, a teenager who's sitting there with like the naked corpse of a girl who kind of also looks like a doll.
yeah,
Yeah, it was showcasing that probably this is something that happens in childhood and then this is the result of it. So I think that was that's kind of heavy-handed in the similarities of a kid who's despondent and sad and he throws a doll into the river and then you see what could possibly come of that in the future with John, who was an absolute babe in the movie, by the way, just FYI.
I know he's so your type.
He's so hot. He totally would have
Yeah.
killed me in high school, so I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Shecky kind of likes white, scary, big, hairy dudes.
that's fair. Something
Yeah.
for everybody. Wait, was that guy in Pee-wee's Big Adventure?
no, that's not the same guy.
Okay, that's what
No,
we were
that's
like
not
watching.
Francis.
Okay, because I just had when you're like watching something and you don't have your phone, and you're just like, I wasn't sure about that, but I was like, his face is so familiar. Who is he? And we
Oh, he's
couldn't.
been in a bunch of stuff though.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
he has been.
Okay, well, I like him. He seems like a nice guy.
Oh wow. Oh, you mean the actor? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean I was kidding, but
He was in
yeah,
the Halloween, like Halloween 1 and
okay,
2. I don't know.
okay.
I don't think he was
Yeah.
in 3.
Yeah, okay. My memory reserves, I shut them off I think at some point like 4 or 5 months ago, where I can't access prior information, like the library of information in my mind. I had to shutter it down. Because it's just it's too overwhelming to the information we were being presented with daily was too much, so I had to just say goodbye to my past knowledge. So thank you for
Oh,
I don't
helping me
blame you.
out.
anytime. Yeah, closed for business. I
Yeah.
totally understand.
Yeah, sorry, we're closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like
Gone fishing.
yeah, gone fishing. No, because I was doing like all these interviews for the record and from all these different places, and they'd be like, "Oh, where did you play when you were here in Boston?" And I'd be like, "Oh my god, I have no idea. I've played there like 20 times and I can't think. I just can't, I guess it just shut down itself. So, pardon me if I don't know proper nouns.
Oh,
It's totally fine.
Okay, good. Thanks for supporting me.
Totally fine.
Yeah, okay, so keep talking, Audra. This is sorry, not that name.
it doesn't
Love
matter.
Sorry.
Who's that?
Yeah.
Who's Audra?
That's my second dog. Pardon me.
Another
Um,
little white doggy.
yeah.
Little red dog.
Little red doggy.
Aw. Yeah, no, this is interesting. I didn't even I'm so bad at like like reading comprehension and that type of thing that I didn't even notice I don't notice when a movie's doing something on purpose. So that thanks for pointing out the obvious that the boy throws the doll in, and then you see an older boy with what's a doll to him. So
Yeah.
please keep going because I'm learning a lot.
Oh, I'm just a meaning junkie, so I like get super excited about symbolism and shit. But
It's the
I
word
think
symbolism.
symbolism and
Yeah,
shit.
That's the word.
that gets lost on me, which is hilarious.
Later, he goes home and he says that he threw the doll or he killed the doll. You think he says he kills the doll. It's a
Yeah.
little girl. His little sister is so upset about it. His older brother Matt is like, God, it's stupid to brag about it. There he is bragging about killing this doll, and that's kind of what John goes on to do.
Yeah,
He's like, yeah, I
now I'm
killed her.
starting to get more of a sense of why it seems like a comedy. You know, like because
Right.
that is so silly. I didn't even think about and then the little boy's like or the little girl's like, "Oh, he keeps killing her."
Yeah.
Um, oh,
Yeah,
look at how
right.
much we're learning. So interesting.
We learned so much from the 80s. And how about this? Then we have this character of Feck, Dennis Hopper, totally fucked up older character, like doesn't leave his house, gives drugs to the kids, and he has a blow up doll that's like his life partner.
Yeah.
And he dances with his blow up doll and so that just get like another objectification
Yep.
of women
Yeah.
as dolls.
Dang, I didn't see any of this. That's crazy. Yeah, that is and then there's yeah, the old man with the sexy doll.
Yeah.
Dang. That's so funny. You're a symbolism master.
It's a little obsessive compulsive, but yeah, that's
That's so
I get
cool.
excited about these things. Uh,
Congratulations.
and then what's funny is that later Feck says like, no, she's a nice girl. Like she doesn't do that. Like when he's talking about his blow up doll to John, because John's
Yeah.
like making all these like advances towards the blow up doll.
Yeah.
He's,
That was
he's
rude. That
very rude, and Feck stands up for her.
and that's nice.
Right.
You're either nice or you're rude. That's it. Yeah, I didn't understand any of that stuff. The connotations of I didn't know what a blow up doll was. I just thought that that was his friend. So it's funny.
Mm.
Um, I mean, I watched this movie so many times, but it's still just through very innocent eyes, I guess. Um, so thank you for walking me through it now. I
Oh, hey,
appreciate
no
it.
problem. What else happens? Let's see. So Lane he picks up Matt, and they go to Feck's house and to pick up drugs. So Feck's like this ex biker, right? He's got a bike in his house,
Yeah.
even, which is kind of funny because it's like a reference to Easy Rider,
Yeah, and
his earlier
they
character.
reference Easy Rider too,
Yeah,
which is
that's
so
right.
strange.
Yeah, they're like so aware of what they're doing,
Yeah.
and that
Yes.
shows in the acting and also the actual lines in the movie like that reference. It's kind of interesting to think like, well, maybe this is Dennis Hopper's character from Easy Rider. Like this is where he ended up.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah. Was when this movie came out, was it like a regular movie in a regular amount of theaters, or do you know that stuff?
A little bit. It made a lot of money actually. I mean, they only put 1.7 million into it, and they made
Dang.
4.6 million. So they did okay, and it was distributed by Island, who was not one of the huge distributors at the time, but it definitely showed in theaters. And it got really good reviews. Uh,
That's good to know.
yeah, yeah, for the
That's
most part. And people saw that it was trying to do something different.
right. That's a
Uh,
fact.
yeah.
That's definitely a fact.
Well, Shecky brought up that some critics were calling it a horror film. Like, what do you think about that?
I don't feel like it's a horror movie. Personally, I think it's just it's more like almost like a documentary, like a just an like it has none of the typical things that horror movies
No.
have. So it seems hard. It does just seem more like what happens to teenagers when they're poorly parented or not parented at all or live in a small town or just what it's like to be a teenager, misunderstood, like, and having no guidance and um
Yeah, yeah, they're fending for themselves here.
yeah, that's what's cool about it. I mean, I guess it's someone is murdered, but you don't see really any of that.
Good
So
point. You
I
never
don't
see the murder.
yeah, so it doesn't seem like that. If they wanted to make it a horror movie, that would be, I think, the first thing you would choose to do is
Yeah.
show something scary, not show the aftermath of a scary event.
It's maybe not about the murder. I think you hit on an important point. Like, since you don't see the murder, it's not about the murder. It's about everyone's reaction.
Yeah, and I think that is scary, but I don't think not in a horror movie way. Like, definitely, I think at that time people were scared of teenagers. Like,
Yeah,
and this is yeah, it isn't about the murder. It's about just teenagers or how weird they are in their decisions, and they're not fully adults, but they can do adult things and have adult consequences. And
yes.
but what other movie is like a horror movie just for adults? Like that's almost the opposite of the point, like, because I don't think any teenagers saw that and were like, "Man, one of my friends could just kill me any second." I think it was more like, "Oh, what would I do if my best friend killed someone?"
Yeah,
Like,
it makes them question their morality.
yeah, exactly. It's more
Yeah.
questioning your morality than fearing for your life. Um, but yeah, I do think it's interesting that I never watched that. I think, yeah, because you don't see her get killed, it's sort of it doesn't seem that real, and it doesn't seem like that's the focus, and it doesn't you connect more with almost everyone else in the movie than you do with her. Whereas,
Totally.
yeah, if you see the violence, you're more empathetic to that human.
She's
Um,
just another doll.
she's just another doll,
Yep.
clearly.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'd say
wow.
it's more of a thriller, like if you had to put it in a genre, but maybe it just doesn't. It kind of spans genres or deflects genres. It doesn't really
Or
want to say.
creates genres.
It creates its own
Yeah,
genre, the kid killer genre, the
Yeah, the
teenage
kid
yeah,
killer.
killer
Yeah.
genre.
love
And
it.
one thing about women though, are all the women treated like dolls in this movie?
No, thank you. Thank you for asking that. So, uh, Ione
You're welcome.
Skye's character, what's her name? Clarissa. Like, so Clarissa's kind of supposed to be Lane's girlfriend, and you see this situation where he's playing a video game and he's kind of shitty to her, right? Like he's telling her to leave him alone or putting her down. I kind of can't remember the exact.
Yeah,
But so he's kind of like trying to boss her around, but then we get a scene where it's just Clarissa and her friend Maggie, and like they have their own mind. Like they're talking about what should we do. They're going to make that phone call. They're going to turn in John for killing their friend, but they kind of can't bring themselves to do it ultimately.
yeah.
So when they're on their own, I feel like they have their own agency. They choose not to use it. And then later we see Clarissa being pretty like sexually aggressive with Keanu Reeves character Matt.
Yeah,
Um
she knows what she wants and she got it, you
she
know?
gets it. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so I don't feel like, she's a doll. I feel like she's got her own agency.
Yeah, she seems to be different than the other girls in it. She seems like a leader of her destiny.
Yeah.
Um,
There's hope
eh,
for her.
yeah, she's cool and her mouth moves cool too.
She
Um,
does. She's got really gorgeous lips. You're right.
yeah, it's so cool. Yeah, I think somebody like how ripping off my friend for this, but you know how orcas, like, you can see real far back in their mouth, like, really a lot of their tongue and a lot of their teeth? Like,
Yes.
she kinda has an orca mouth. It's
Oh
really
my
cool.
god.
I really like it. You should go back and look at how it moves. It's extraordinary.
So you can see into her mouth.
Yeah, just like a little bit, like the way her mouth is shaped is like most people, it's like goes like it's like a straight shot back. You're like your teeth all the way back, but hers kind of is like down. It goes down. There's like a 20-degree angle down, so you can see more teeth like an orca. That's what I was pretty much focused on all of watching the movie.
Well, I know
Um,
that I'll never be able to see it again quite the same way now that I know that.
yeah. Well,
That's all I'll be
I
able to see.
I apologize and I'll say you're welcome. Oh, but back to the girl stuff. The mom also seems like her life stinks.
Yeah.
She seems like a puppet, which makes me sad to think about. Because she has a job and she has all these kids and nobody wants to listen to her. But yeah, I guess Clarissa's the only one that kind of is her own individual person
Yeah, I agree.
of the gals.
Yeah. She still doesn't do the right thing. The only the only person to do the right thing is Matt, Keanu
Yeah.
Reeves. But even he kind of is not great at it. Like, he was brought in for questioning and he doesn't just say like, "Hey, John did it." He can't just come clean. He's very aggressive towards the cop and kind of makes everything worse for himself.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I don't feel like he really explains or it's really explained. I mean, the movie's just assuming we know why telling the cops is the right thing to do.
Ah, yeah.
But I don't necessarily I feel like they should explain that more cuz yeah, like I said, to me I felt much more in touch with the idea of protecting your friend than with like I didn't understand as a kid why you tell the cops.
Oh,
Uh
wow. Okay, you're a Lane, not a Matt.
Well, before, yeah, but, like, I mean, I can tell that something's wrong and that a wrong action happened, but I don't feel like I really understood why in that movie telling the cops would help anybody, you
Mm.
know? And they don't really talk about it that much. They say it's wrong, what he did was wrong, but they're not like, "Oh, man, her poor parents," or any they don't give any reason to my knowledge of why it's important for the cops to know what happened.
They don't humanize her a whole lot. I think
Yeah.
you're right about that. And then it's kind of interesting because, like, as you spend more time with John Samson,
Yeah.
John, as the movie goes on, the more you see, like, this guy will do this again. He's
Okay.
really screwed up.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense why you tell someone. I guess I just naively was like, "Oh, he reads to his aunt. That's so sweet."
Yeah.
Um
So that's really interesting, huh?
yeah, like, "Oh, what did they say like Cat in the Hat or what was it?"
Yeah,
Do you
something like that.
Yeah, like, "Oh, he reads Cat in the Hat to his aunt." Like probably he's a good guy, you know?
Like any serial killer who has a double life.
Yeah,
Like, "Oh,
that's
that
true.
guy, he was the nicest, quietest next door neighbor.
Yeah.
He had a
Well,
wife
it's
and kids."
interesting. I mean, I think and that's also what's good about the movie is they don't like hammer it in about why you're supposed to turn people in. I think maybe it's maybe you're just supposed to know why, but um
Yeah.
this movie wasn't trying to teach kids a lesson or anything. I'll tell you that
Oh,
cuz
no,
I didn't learn anything, except yeah, I think that it's cool that they had so much freedom as much as they had so little, they were so free to just do as they pleased. And that seems so cool. Like, "Oh, I can't wait to be a teenager and just sleep outside, like share a sleeping bag with a human that I want to be sexual with." That is
with a
so
Keanu
cool.
Reeves.
Yeah. Keanu. But yeah, I'm so interested. It seems like there's so little information.
Yeah, you're right.
So at least they kept the fact that we had like a sex scene. So that's good. Because
There was sex.
teens gotta have sex.
It's
Well,
true.
yeah, I didn't want to say this because I guess that this is, I don't know. a horrible thing to say, but I remember being this is awful. I'm gonna say it though, is I remember being excited to be able to see boobs. And I
Uh,
think that
Nothing
that
wrong with
might
that.
have well, I think that that might have been my original like reason why it was my favorite, which seems pretty twisted. Um, but yeah, as a kid, it's like you barely ever get to see boobs, and when you do, it's so exciting. And I
yeah.
don't think I think I mean I knew they were a real person, a real live person's boobs, and I think like anytime it was hard to see naked people back then, so it was so exciting. um Even though it was a dead person, I guess that's something else that should really be looked at, is like maybe we should make naked people more accessible so kids don't go around like fantasizing about a person in a movie who's playing dead because that's the only boobs they could see you
Totally
know
agree with you.
Did you not have access to Cinemax as a kid?
No, I
Uh,
didn't, and yeah, we weren't, like, allowed to watch anything fun at all,
Yeah.
and if yeah, like, my friends had it, so, like, going to a friend's house, we could watch, yeah, like, Cinemax or anything, like, late night stuff, but I didn't have any of that, so that was, like, that was, like, literally the only kind of place you could get it is in those movies, or like yeah, we used to sneak
yeah.
out and get LA Expresses, which is hilarious, that like to look at naked people on a newspaper.
Oh
um
yeah.
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
that
The escorts.
I mean,
yeah.
and you're saying having access to Skinamax. I mean, have you ever tried to dodge your mom at like 1 a.m. in the morning, to watch softcore porno? I mean, it's a pain in the ass. Are you kidding?
My
Yeah.
sister and I did it all the time. We we
Well,
watched horrible shit in the middle of the night.
see,
That's so
okay, so your
cool.
parents were obviously way too trusting of you guys, but my mom
They were tired.
locked
They
it
went to
down. My
bed.
mom locked that shit down.
I bet. Knowing your mother, I
Yeah,
bet.
nope, not happening on
Yeah,
her watch.
yeah, our TV was like in a place where everyone would know if you were watching it, so I didn't I didn't mess around with that. Definitely when they went, like, out for the night, we would, like, watch it, but then they could come home and then they would put their hand on the back to see if it was hot, and then we get in trouble. Um,
Oh, they're
yeah.
Yes.
detectives.
Yeah, they were.
Yep.
It took us a while to figure out, like, how they were doing it, but once we figured it out, we realized we had no choice. We could not watch TV when we were not allowed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or did your mom? So what my mom did was she would unplug it, right? And then I would like take a mental picture of how the cord was laying on the ground,
Smart,
and I'd put it
smart.
exactly back the way, right? My mom came in and she's like, "You been watching TV?" And I'm like, "No." And then she went up to it and she touched the screen, and the screen was still staticky from the
Oh,
picture. And I was like,
sucks.
Linda knew.
"Yeah." I was like, "No." I'm so sad with that. Oh God.
Yeah. It
Well,
sucks getting caught lying.
Yeah.
it does, but it's good that you guys have parents like this because then you don't end up to be like teenagers like in this movie who are just running wild.
Or like you guys, because y'all ran wild, you and your sister.
See,
Goths, come
that's
on.
that's why I have this show.
Yep.
Like we watch so much like 80s sex farce that that really stuck with me.
Yeah.
I used to maintain the sense of humor of a 12-year-old boy because of it. Just stuck
Yeah,
there.
I
it's
can see
good
it.
though. It's good.
Oh, and another thing, this movie could have only taken place in the 80s, and I'll tell you why. One word:
What?
internet. Seriously, if this
How
guy,
yeah.
if this kid would have brought his friends there, that would have spread like wildfire. Like
Oh my
seriously,
god, if they had phones, they would have been taking pictures.
posting it, everything, it would have been crazy. Like it would have spread like wildfire. The fact that they were able to keep it to their small group, crazy, bananas. Like nowadays, you're not getting anywhere without at least 4 or 5 people like putting it on TikTok or tweeting it
Oh yeah.
or something. So that's another thing. It's just like at least they have the option. It wouldn't have taken 3 days for this to happen or even anything like that.
Well,
So
I guess they don't mention at all this girl's parents. Like, even at school the next
No.
day when they find out, like, it's just I think typically someone's parent would say something, but
Yeah.
none of that is
Yeah.
even mentioned in this movie.
Yeah, was she like a homeless girl? Okay, you're totally right. Like where are her parents? Like
Yeah.
Bonnie didn't come home last night. Sorry, I mean use your name.
Oh, that's okay.
So I
It's
was
Oh my
just
God.
like,
yeah,
If
like
my
she
one of
didn't
us
come
parents
home
didn't
last
come
night.
home, yeah, our parents would be calling the police like we were an hour late or something,
Yeah.
thinking we're
yeah,
dead.
totally. Yeah, no, there's no way that like it's not, you know, and I hate to do it, but it's not very realistic, you
No.
know?
No, because even though we had a little bit more freedoms and it was like, you have to be inside before the street lights come on. But I mean, come on, she didn't come home last night. Like, why aren't her parents? And like, obviously, she had a relationship with this boy, so the parents would have been like, "Where's our daughter? What happened? What's going
Yeah,
on?" But
Well,
nothing.
yeah,
So
you know how Lane and John drive by his house at some point and there are cops everywhere?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it's alluding
I
to
just
it.
Oh, okay.
I just assumed that, like, yeah, if the girl's reported missing, they're gonna check with the boyfriend first, right? Like, he's gonna be the first suspect.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe
Yeah,
Right.
maybe that
unless
was.
Matt gave the name, I don't know.
They must have been. I mean, that must have been what they were alluding to,
But yeah,
and
there's
why Lane got even more kind of amped up about it.
Oh,
but yeah,
yeah,
it's all
yeah.
just suggestion. That's what's so maybe that's what makes this so different is that it's all suggested. It doesn't really come out and say any of that. Um,
You're
whereas
right.
other movies are really about like the case and what happens and how
That's
it
true.
affected everyone. And this is just like kind of a movie about how it didn't really affect people, which is bizarre, you know?
Or, the way it affected people in different ways. So let's look at Lane, Crispin Glover's Lane character, who immediately kind of plugs into this space of like, we have to protect the friend, but he also plugs into this space of we're in a movie. Because he says, like, oh, it's just
Yeah,
like, it's like in a movie. And later he says, like, oh, like Starsky and Hutch, like
yeah,
he's in a fantasy land.
yeah,
He's not
Like,
experiencing reality.
yeah, like a typical Trump supporter. I mean, come on, it all.
Okay. Now I get it. Now I get it.
yeah,
But he's got real issues with reality, and they show him later and he's just like eating a bunch of pills, and he kind of nods off on the side of the road in his car. He's in another universe, and it's really interesting that when Feck kills John and the kids find him, like, Lane has this breakdown moment, this maybe a breakthrough moment.
yeah,
Reality touches him and he's like,
yeah,
he's dead. That
yeah.
touched him.
I thought that was my favorite part of acting in the whole movie because
Yeah.
I'm kind of the type of person that when something like traumatic or bad happens, I definitely kind of smile and giggle more, like a maniac. And he did that, like,
Nervous laughter. Uh-huh.
yeah. And I thought that that was one of the few choices he made that actually seemed like real, like I was like, oh, I can relate to that. I would definitely be like, yeah, nervous laugh, you know, probably cackling. Like the few times I've come up against the police, I just start bursting out laughing and it's so shitty. It's the worst
That's
thing ever.
awesome. I mean, okay.
My
It's
God.
so bad. It's like the worst thing ever.
Like,
Yeah, I used to
this.
get
Okay.
I had an old car, so I used to get pulled over a lot, and man, it sucked, and I would just be like, I'm so sorry. I laugh when I'm nervous, and they're like, have you been drinking? And it's like, no. That's like, yeah, it's a horrible way to react. Or like if something catches on fire or anything, it's like, but yeah, so I felt like that choice for him to do that, like was really my favorite moments of that movie.
I agree
Um,
with you. That's a really nice touch in his acting. As a nervous laugher myself, like, yeah, I totally get it. Like, sometimes things are so horrible, you have the opposite reaction.
yeah, yeah. What's funny is in our band, a couple other members have that too. So it's really weird to be in a group of people like hysterically laughing when like the van breaks down in the middle of Texas in the middle of summer and
Oh God.
probably gonna like, you know, get dehydrated and die. But just like having more than one person react that way is really something else. uh,
You're all just laughing hysterically, and then you all die.
and Larry's like, "Shut up!" Like,
Larry, the voice of reason.
yeah, what's wrong with you guys? Like, just like you need to call, AAA, and it's like I can't stop laughing.
Okay, one more scene to talk about in this
Yes.
movie. I want to get your opinion on this, both of you.
Yay.
Okay, so we all know Fett kills John, and then Fett goes back to his house, and he gets hit on the head by one of the shitty kids, the little kids.
Yeah.
But then next we see him, like the cops come for him, and we see him in a hospital room, and he's
Yeah.
got a monologue. He's talking by himself,
Yeah.
and he talks about why he killed John and like why he had felt like he had to reach this balance in the universe, like he had to kill him because there's definitely something wrong with this kid. And
Yeah.
my question to you guys is, who's he talking to?
Yeah. Who's he talking to?
Yeah.
That's my question to you too.
Oh, we're just asking a bunch of questions of each other. Who is he
Yeah.
talking to?
His bedpan.
It's really interesting. Like you assume he's talking to the cops. I assumed
Yeah.
he was talking to the cops. Yeah, a friend brought up a very good point of like maybe he's just hallucinating. Maybe he's just sort of talking to himself.
Yeah. I think those are the two options, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, I think it's more poignant that he's talking to himself. Only because he's sitting down and he's reflecting on his life and why he did it. And he's trying to tell himself that he is the good person now because he might
Yeah.
have had trauma about what happened to his girlfriend and what he did to his girlfriend. So there could be some talking over with himself, like, talking it over in his head, making
yeah,
himself feel better about his actions.
I like
Because
that.
yeah, because if he's talking to the police, it's like, okay, well, then he's confessing. But if he's just talking to the universe, he's having a reflective moment. And this is one of the only people, an adult, mind you, that is taking responsibility for the youth that are, even if it's fucked up, he's the only adult that took responsibility for the youth in his care.
Yeah, I like that. And I do like the idea of him being set free from his past and all this stuff, and it seems like
Yeah.
he's sort of doing that for himself. I like that.
I think that's a great read. And that's a choice too, because like the filmmakers could have shown the cops in the room, or they could have
Yeah.
shown an empty room, but they let you figure it out. They let you draw your own conclusions, like they do so many times in this movie.
Yeah.
They let you do the
Dang.
work.
They make you do the work.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's hilarious because like at the beginning we have the kid throwing the doll in the river and then the other one, and that's very heavy handed. And this one they're kind of like, nah, you decide.
Yeah, totally.
So it's kind of like, we're only gonna lead you so far.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
So interesting. When you do these, do you always want to talk to like the directors afterwards and just ask them all the questions?
Oh,
Like,
I would love to be able to talk to the directors and see like, what the hell were you thinking, man?
Yeah.
Some movies we watched were just complete shit shows. So
how
So
are
this
we
is-
gonna how are we gonna live the rest of our lives without these questions answered?
that's fine.
Really?
We have to find our own answers, just like in life.
Wow. Oh my god.
Right?
I didn't realize how much I was gonna learn about myself today. So cool. We just have to find the answers for ourselves. Wow.
Yes, for sure.
Bombshell. Breaking news. That's what's important in life. Find your own answers.
Find your own
'Cause-
answers. Get
'cause-
your own blow up doll.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because honestly, we none of us know what the fuck we're doing. So we just gotta,
No.
just get your blow up doll, work, make it happen.
Yeah.
Whatever
Wow.
works.
Thank you guys for letting me come on this odyssey with you of
I'm glad you were able to join.
Yeah,
I
this
have
was so
so
good. It's a heavy movie, and I think like a really enlightening conversation about this.
yeah, I really learned a lot. I mean, honestly, I learned a lot about myself because it is an interesting thing to be like, those are like that group of teenagers is the coolest people in the world. And then
Yeah.
now I get to be like, wait, why? Like, why did you think that? And it's, I guess it's just that they represent freedom. Um,
Oh, so true. Yeah.
and just like, and one day you will be free from rules, but
Mhm.
not really.
We never are. We never ever are.
You
No.
never are.
The rules
Not,
just change.
Yeah.
whoa, that's true. The rules just change.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it's funny because we were all kind of like, wow, this is a really heavy movie. Don't aren't usually our movies just shit show movies, and so this was actually kind of a challenge for us because we were like, wow, this is actually a really hardcore movie, and we're like, how are we gonna make fun of this movie? And it was just like, well, I mean, we could kind of make fun of it in retrospect because of how it is now and how it's kind of dated. So you listeners, let us know how we did with this one.
I just want to
Yay.
point out that the last movie we covered was Hard Ticket to Hawaii, and
Right.
that had a blow up doll as well. So we're on like a blow up doll.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we're
Yes.
2 for 2 here.
Yes.
Yay.
Listeners, let us know if you have any 80s movies that feature blow up dolls and we will review them.
Yeah.
Please.
And Bonnie, where can people go to find out more?
The internet.
Yes!
Love it.
Correct answer.
Yeah, it's all over the internet. Um, don't don't look anywhere else. Don't even try looking anywhere else. It's only on the internet.
So no yellow pages?
Let your fingers do the walking.
I miss that.
Oh, you could totally take out a Yellow Pages Death Valley Girls ad.
That would be great.
It would be
That's
awesome.
such a good idea. That was such a good idea. Thank you
The
so
yellow
much
and
for that.
yeah, the yellow on the black, the black print on the yellow would be so cool.
It's so pretty. It's so pretty. Well, thank you guys so much for letting me talk to you.
Thank you.
And in such a safe, open space to admit my childhood fantasies.
Hey, this is a safe
Yeah.
space to talk about boobs. This is like
Cool.
the
Definitely.
definition of a safe space to talk about boobs.
Thank you for
is-
allowing me.
And now that I think about it, that ad or that review you read about necrophilia, this had a dead body with like dead boobs. So are we kind of like validating that comment now? Ugh, now I'm all like questioning it.
We have a rep.
We
We
kind of
have a
do.
rep to live up to. Yeah.
We kind of do.
So, listeners, please join us on Facebook, Speakeasily Show. We have a special people's group on Facebook as well, Speakeasily Hour Minute Podcast group. And you can find us at speakeasily.tv and check us out on iTunes, Spotify, and all the other usual dumb places and give us reviews because we're going to help you help us help you find us, something like that, and find the Death Valley Girls too.
Yes, they're on the internet.
Thank you. You've certainly been an audience. Good night.